major NFL news happened in the past couple of days. The biggest one, blockbuster trade. The Kansas City Chiefs yet again trade a star corner. Marcus Peters, Charvarius Ward, L'Jarius Sneed, and Trent McDuffie was not the exception to the rule. He also got traded to the Rams for a first-round pick, which is the 29th pick in the draft, I believe, so the Rams still keep the 13th overall pick in the draft, 5th-round pick, and then a 3rd-round pick in 2027. The Chiefs got a haul. They got a good amount of assets back from McDuffie. It's a 1st-round pick, 5th-round pick, 6th-round pick, and 2027 3rd-round pick, and the Rams get McDuffie. Do you believe that the Rams are now Super Bowl favorites with this move? And then the next part of this conversation will then lead into the Chiefs and if you are a believer in the strategy that they're currently rolling out with.
Well, I thought the Rams were Super Bowl favorites prior to the move. We figured that they would make moves. Did I think Trent McDuffie would be on their list? No, I didn't think that, honestly. I thought they'd be a little bit aggressive around the margins on free agency, but you know what's going to happen now that they brought Trent McDuffie in the room. They're going to extend them most likely because they do have one of the most available cap spaces in the league. This made perfect sense. This is a perfect marriage for the two of them. Now, Trent McDuffie is a great player. We're talking about an all-pro. But when it comes to getting beat, his size kind of has him at a bit of a disadvantage from time to time, but more often than not, we're talking about one of the more for sure corners in the game. As for the Chiefs, they have shown in the past that they can move on from a corner and they're going to be able to be successful afterward. Now, they've gone from, like you mentioned, the litany of them, from Peters to Ward, from Ward to Sneed, from Sneed to McDuffie. Now, for McDuffie, is it Noel? Is it Noel Williams? Like, is this the guy that we're putting the faith in? Don't get me wrong. I thought he was a really strong player this year. Was he anything proven the way that McDuffie was? Was he as proven as L'Jarius Sneed was? No. Was he as proven as Charvarius Ward was? That's where I kind of have my concern. Noel was great. In terms of PFF, I think he was the 16th highest grade corner, which not bad considering how many corners there are in the game. And he's a number 2 corner. I'm not saying that that's bad. But now you're going to get matched up against ones. But now we understand the direction. It becomes a little bit more clear, in my opinion, at least. That 8th or 9th overall pick, it most likely will be Mansour. If not, at worst, pick 29. That'll be dictated towards corner. But why I have an issue or a bit of a conundrum in my own head of what's going on with the Chiefs and their future at cornerback position is because with that first pick they have in the first round, it can go in so many different ways, and I can understand the logic. But after trading McDuffie, now the public is going to see it as if, at least where we stand prior to draft day, is, oh, you got to go corner now. Like, it's a definite, you have to go corner now because you have to you have to go ahead and fix the mistake or fix the loss of McDuffie. But when I look at the Chiefs, they could use help on the offensive line. They could use help in the backfield. They could use help at the wide receiver position. They could use help at pass rusher. They could use help in the DB room. They have holes, a lot of them. And it could go any which way because I can see Jeremiah Love getting drafted to the Chiefs. I can see Caleb Downs getting drafted to the Chiefs. If by some miracle of God, I can see Sonny Styles getting drafted to the Chiefs if he falls down there. I can see Ruben Bain getting drafted by the Chiefs. Like, I can see all, but after this move, I think a lot of people are going to think that it's Mansour and that's the pick that they're going. And then pick 29, they kind of go best available at that point. But I think that the Chiefs, their rebuild isn't this year. When you have Mahomes, automatically you think, yeah, you're going to contend every single year. You're going to be a playoff team every single year. But I don't know if this is a legitimate Super Bowl contending team after 1 year of a rebuild. Is it doable because you have Mahomes? Fine. But I just think that there's a bit too many holes to fix this offseason. Where we stand right now. By the time we get to the draft, or by the time we get near the season and we find we have the final roster, of course my opinion can change. And I do think that there are moves to be made and that they can make them, but I just don't think it's as for sure of a thing as it's been in the past as in terms of the transition to the next corner.
I think that the Chiefs have shown the ability to move on from elite level talent.
They have.
Tyreek Hill, Trent McDuffie, retool their team properly, and then win a lot of football games.
The Jerry Sneed, you mean?
Yep.
Trent McDuffie, Tyreek Hill, they traded him too. I'm not just talking about corners. I'm talking about just star players they've traded.
No, I think that's what I'm saying. You're saying Sneed, or do you mean Trent McDuffie as well?
I meant Trent McDuffie.
Understood.
L'Jarius Sneed.
Because they moved on from him and won a championship.
He was a different case because L'Jarius Sneed, he was getting injections in his knees to play in 2023. And that's why the Chiefs didn't feel comfortable paying him long term because they knew that he was dealing with something. McDuffie is healthy. He doesn't have any issues. I think how the Chiefs season ended left a sour taste in everybody's mouth. And what they were has become forgotten about because by every advanced metric, by basic box score numbers like points per game with Mahomes, they were a better offense than their 2024 team. DVOA wise, they were a better team overall DVOA in 2025 than they were in 2024. The difference was the variance in the one-score game performances. In 2024, they went 15-2 and they won a ton of one-score football games. In 2025, I thought they were a better football team, but they lost an abundance of one-score games. Interception where Travis Kelce drops the football and it lands in an Eagles' hands, Andrew Makuba, and that was a big swing in the game. The Devin Lloyd pick six, which Mahomes just got fooled on that. And there was many moments where they lost by a score in which the year before they had better luck. But I think that both teams weren't that far off. So I still view the Chiefs as a playoff caliber team, even with the holes they have. But it does put into question just how much of a load they're going to continue to give Mahomes because he's never had a great running game in his career. The wide receivers since Tyreek Hill have left have been underwhelming. Rashee Rice has been the best one, and I think he has limitations as a wide receiver, and he also has off-the-field issues that can bleed into his availability on the football field. But the haul they got from McDuffie is something that you can't pass up on. The only other team that has shown the ability to win Super Bowls while trading elite-level talent has been the New England Patriots. And right now, the Chiefs are trying to model and build their team with that same philosophy in mind. So they're not just going all in this year for Mahomes. They're trying to extend this window for 10 years with Patrick Mahomes. And this upcoming draft that they're going into is going to be the most draft capital that they've had in a draft since 2008. So with the restructures they've made, creating $50 million in cap space with the draft picks they have, it will allow them to address wide receiver, edge, corner, running back. And once they address those positions, I think that they will be right back towards the top of the league. And I think with those 2 first-round picks, you address 2 of them. I think they should address running back in free agency because there's a lot of options, and maybe even bringing in a wide receiver. I think they will be in play for the Alec Pierce sweepstakes. I think they will be a team in the hunt for those type of players that can make a difference in the offense. But Mahomes coming off an ACL injury, I think he will be ready week 1. I think this is Patrick Mahomes we're talking about. I feel like you look at all-time great quarterbacks that get hurt, they usually bounce back the very next year and have great seasons. I think Mahomes can win MVP next year. So I think the Chiefs, they will bounce back. I think they will have an incredible offseason. But this is the one time, more than any other time, that you can doubt what they are doing. Because you have to wonder at some point, letting go of so many elite players will come back to haunt you, especially when you choose to especially when you choose to pay other players over those said elite players, like choosing to give Karlaftis an extension, Nick Bolton an extension, which those 2 players making the money in the salary they're making is a big reason why they couldn't bring back McDuffie, or else they weren't going to be able to fill any of the other holes on their roster.
Yeah, first of all, for the Rams, I love it. Awesome move. They realized Matthew Stafford just won MVP. He's in a very short window in his peak prime, whatever you want to call it. Quarterbacks have it different. You don't know how much longer you're gonna get of this Stafford play. You have to take advantage of the window while you can. Puka's performing at an all-world level. You have guys like Verse, Fisk, Kobe Turner on the line. This is a defense that is young. It's getting better, and eventually you're going to have to start paying guys, like you mentioned, with the situation with the Kansas City Chiefs. So I love the Rams kind of being aggressive, coming off a game where they felt like they could have and should have won that game, and realizing they're secondary away from winning a championship, or a secondary away from at least getting there. Getting a guy like Trent McDuffie, like we mentioned, is all-pro is huge. I think he's going to provide a much-needed help to that secondary, and I don't think the Rams are done. I believe they still have a ton of cap to work with. They have the 13th pick in the draft, can go grab a young corner to kind of pair up with McDuffie, maybe a little guy that is opposite of McDuffie, a little bit more size to his ability, maybe a little bit taller. Because McDuffie, like you mentioned, Drew, is a little bit of a shorter. Well, probably the same. Probably
5'10".
Probably a corner's height, because corners are
It's
usually
just like for him, his stature, given how great he is, he's a little shorter.
Well, he does his thing for sure. As for the Chiefs, it was a down year. Didn't make the playoffs, unfortunately. Offense had the numbers, but I still feel like their wide receiving room wasn't all too well. Plus, it was unhealthy for most of the year, or dealing with situations, obviously off the field issues. But I don't hate the move. I think you got a really good deal for an all-pro young player. Like, we forget Trenton's only like 25, 26. Feels like he's been in the league for some time now because he's been to Super Bowls. You trust more or less what the Chiefs do. You trust that for maybe 2 out of Mahomes' years, they've been, Super Bowl or bust, or Western, whatever it is, the AFC Championship game or bust. They've created this infrastructure and this ecosystem that has been successful in its tenure with Patrick Mahomes. So, and you bit the bullet early, and I think that's always important. Understand that you can't maybe pay McDuffie. You got out of it a little bit early, traded him, got good value for him. Now you can retool, revamp this roster, and I believe they just did Mahomes' contract.
They restructured.
Yeah, they restructured it to build up some cap space, so they understand the mission. I think you're on the mindset of where they are too. I think Mahomes will play week 1, and they are going to be competing for something next year. I like it for both sides, though. I think it wasn't much needed for the Chiefs, but it was needed. I feel like for the Rams, though, it was much needed.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs, for me, still get benefit of the doubt. You could definitely question extending Bolton, extending Karlaftis, but this team also had shown that they could draft or acquire talent and is able to replenish it. So if they're able to do that again, I think that's what they're really shooting for. But it's just two teams, I think, in different places, and that's what I think Rib was really talking about, where the Rams see a much shorter window with Matthew Stafford. There was questions if he was going to play at all last year during training camp, and he did say he's going to come back for at least one more season. So for the Rams, yeah, if we have to trade a first-round pick while we have an additional one thanks to the Falcons, and make Trent McDuffie potentially the highest paid corner, which I understand the Chiefs not want to do because they don't really have the cap space to do it, and you don't want to have that on your sheet for multiple seasons because they really don't have a ton of cap space. They're under $30 million this year, and they're still bottom 10 in 2027. So it's still not a team that's going to have all of this money to spend. And they've shown that if you can move off Tyreek Hill, man, and you're able to figure it out, I think you're able to move off Trent McDuffie, who's great in his own right. But I wouldn't want to make him the highest paid cornerback in football. I think he's really good. Is he worth getting all of that money plus trading a first round pick and a fifth and a third? Like, that's the price you have to pay when you're in the super win now mindset like the Rams are. But the Chiefs, I think you have to feel good about it because I think they could take anything at 9. Like, sure, is Delane there? If he's there, do you take him? Great, but they could use, like you said, everything. Like, if Carnell Tate's there, I wouldn't be shocked. If, like you said, Jeremiah Love's there, I wouldn't be shocked. There's just so many holes on this team, and I think they're recognizing having Trent McDuffie is great. But if we're able to get like 2 to 3 starters from this draft or from this trade, that's what we need right now. We need dart throws. We need guys that could help in multiple different areas because Leo Chanel's a free agent too. Like, there's going to be a lot of pieces that are either aging, Travis Kelce, or you're just lacking, like a running back, receiver, and even edge.
And that $30 million goes to other positions because that $30 million now, instead of giving McDuffie record-breaking cornerback money, you could bring back Jalen Watson for a fraction of the price, and he was a really good starter for them this
or
past
just
year.
blow all that money on Alec Pierce.
I mean, yeah, you can. Or get Rashid Shaheed, who offers a vertical deep threat to their offense, who isn't Alec Pierce, but he can provide some of the same things to stress defenses out.
My fantasy team would love that.
Like, I think that even Jamel Dean is an option. Free agent from Tampa Bay. You weren't going to pay him as much as McDuffie either. So now, that money frees up in multiple different places so you can attack those. And they have their own free agents. Like I mentioned, Jalen Watson, but also Leo Chanel. I think Leo Chanel is a non-negotiable must-stay priority player. He is their best linebacker. Nick Bolton has occasional plays here and there, but Leo Chanel has really been the better of those two.
Bolton's a better run stopper than anything. I'm with you.
Like Leo Chanel is a difference maker, Pro Bowl caliber type of talent. Mm-hmm. But yeah, in the draft, there's so many positions. Like with that pick that they have, they can go in a variety of different directions and you can feel comfortable with it, whether it's David Bailey, Ruben Bain Jr. for defense, whether it's Spencer Fano, offensive tackle, you solidify your right tackle after cutting Jawan Taylor, wide receiver, Carnell, Makai Lemon even. Like there's a lot of different directions they can go in. And then with that late first, they can attack edge rusher or a corner because there's going to be corners in that late first round that they'll be able to draft.
Yeah, so deep corner class.
I think that the Chiefs, this was a must make trade for them. But for the Rams are the epitome of an elite organization. They have not built their roster typically how other teams build theirs because they don't value their first round picks. Over the last 10 drafts, the Rams have traded 9 of their first round picks. They have only made a first round selection once in the last 10 years with their own pick. It was Jared Verse. It was a home run. But people might say the Rams don't value picks. No, that's false. Even though they have traded their first round picks, they have had the 5th most draft capital since 2022, which means they're throwing a lot of darts on that board, and they've hit on a lot of them, where it's Puka in the 5th round, Kyron Williams, Jared Verse, Braden Fisk. You have Kobe Turner, their offensive lineman. They've hit on a few of them. And Steve Avila.
First was a first, but I understand the sentiment. Mm-hmm.
They have hit on so many players in the draft, which is why they can trade for an all-pro player like Trent McDuffie, and their cap situation will still be fine because when you have so many young players on value contracts, you can pay a quarterback top of the line money. You can pay a corner top of the line money, and you'll still be able to field a great roster because you have hit on all those picks. Like the Rams, excellent scouting department, excellent draft picks, and this is why they are the best roster in the NFL, and they have been for 2 years now. Last year, they were the best roster in the NFL too, but special teams cost them, and this year, they are now once again the best roster in the NFL. Trent McDuffie, just because the Chiefs traded him, I don't want people to get it twisted like how elite this dude is. He's not on Kansas City no more because they had to make that sacrifice, but Trent McDuffie is one of the most versatile corners in football, and you look at what he's done since 2022, he's 5th in time spent in tight coverage. Has never allowed a 100-yard receiver in his career. He has allowed only 6.2 yards per target. That ranks 10th. He leads all corners in quarterback pressures with 34 since 2022. He leads all corners in forced fumbles with 8. He has 45 run stops and that's 8th amongst all corners. Run stopper, great in coverage, a great blitzer, and he's great at knocking the ball loose. He is the most complete corner you can argue in football, and whether he plays on the outside or in the slot with the Rams, that's up to what they want to do. But in Chris Shula's defense, with as much disguises as they have up front, he's going to be a big part of that. And this can be the difference in them finally hoisting that Lombardi next year. He's that good.
Yeah, no, it's a great move. And the Rams, when they do trade their first rounders, they hit Jalen Ramsey, Matthew Stafford, McDuffie. Like they go out there, they make use of them. And when they have to go and get a star, they're usually part of a championship team.
Can't wait.